for me, and I know Jen's not going to agree with any of this, but if you listen to Retro on Patreon with Kenny and me, you'll know that I'm not the biggest Jericho fan to begin with. And
like, you saved yourself there, and I was like, give it time.
I mean, now I think he does incredible work. I just, like, 2001 Jericho is very not for me.
That's the thing, is 2001 Jericho was everything for me.
Yeah.
Everything.
I feel like we're watching different programs, or like we just come at it very differently, right? But the way that Jericho has won the titles, like, I always hear he beat The Rock and Stone Cold in one night, right? That's the line. That's what he said. But the whole story is that he doesn't deserve to do it. Like, he doesn't deserve to beat both of them. Because that's the story they're telling on TV. They're constantly having, like, interference in his matches, and then he's Mr. Billy Big Balls being like, I win! And everyone's like, you don't deserve this, you're terrible. I know it's his character, but it makes the world title feel very mid-card to me, because it's like this guy who doesn't deserve it has it, and then they're, like, consistently beating him. They beat him twice, like, he got pinned and submitted the day before Vengeance.
Which is why it's even more spectacular. It's like the ultimate heel kind of move, and just like, it's so fabulous.
It's an
so
ultimate heel move if you want to build a mid-card heel. If you want to build a main event guy, then this is not the way to do it. Because, I mean, like, now I don't believe in Jericho to be champion. I don't believe that that's ever going to work. RVD, if he had been put in that position, and if he had, like, gotten this actual big coronation and they treated him like a legitimate threat, the way they did Kurt Angle when he won the championship last year, then I think they could have built another main event star, like, immediately. But instead, they're doing this Jericho shenanigans stuff, and I'm not enjoying it.
But this is the thing, RVD to me, right, like, I've just seen in the chat there, like, yeah, I am an RVD fan. Like, I appreciate so much his work. I prefer him, actually, in ECW than I did, like, in, like, the kind of WWE, and that includes, like, the WWE ECW kind of thing. Always preferred him, like, in that kind of sense. Mm-hmm. But to me, right, and this is going to be, like, super unpopular, and I'm going to get so annoyed. People are going to be so annoyed at me. But RVD has always been a mid-card guy to me, because because he's just not got that spark, that, like, he's not got that kind of spunk that, like, Jericho has. That's, sorry, chosen another better word there, but, like, he's not got that, like Jericho has this, like, X factor. He's, like, so good on the mic. He's so this RVD promos and stuff like that. Not for me. Like, it's like carrying, it's way more than that. Plus, as well, if you actually look at the politics of it, the fact that they did kind of want to unify stuff, and, you know, like, or at that time, like, when you look at the politics of it, it's just the natural choice to have Jericho, to have this, like, you needed somebody in 2001 to almost, because you've got, like, The Rock, and you've got Stone Cold, and you've got these names, and you needed somebody who you could just get involved in that picture, who could rival it. Fair enough. Like,
see, and for me, that would be RVD over Jericho 10 times, because I think RVD has been, like, a way more credible contender. Like, I don't know, Stephen Waits with you, he says that he never saw RVD as a main eventer. I see RVD in 2001 as I'm watching all of the shows. I see him at a much higher level than I do Jericho, because I've seen Jericho lose so many times to mid-card guys.
But it's more about the, like, for what I think about that time, and to be fair, I've not watched that time in, like, a long time. It's what I kind of, like, the era I go back to the most anyway, but I've not watched it in a long time. But, like, at the time, it was, Jericho had so much more personality and more excitement to him than RVD. RVD, when he got brought in, it was this kind of, like, I don't know if maybe it was tainted when he was doing, like, the kind of, like, WWE, CW kind of, WWE, like, do you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. I just don't know if maybe that kind of, like, spoiled the kind of, like, RVD, like, run for me. But even, and then again, even in ECW, as much as I did love him there, he wasn't my guy. Like, he wasn't, and I know I am extremely biased, and I am, like, that kind of way inclined that when I do get behind somebody, I am 100% all about them. Like, I'll follow them whether they're heel or face or whatever. They're just my guy. But I don't know. For me, Jericho just was such a kind of natural in the role for that. Like, it just made total sense to me.
It's wild to me. Like, it's wild to me that you think he was a natural, because I think leading up to his Undisputed Championship reign, he was the least credible person in the world. And he was, like, annoyingly whiny in his promos. Like, this is how I
love that.
See, you love that he's annoyingly whiny. I just feel like he sounds like a petulant child who's trying to get attention. Like, he has middle child syndrome.
But it was totally, think about it, like, when you see, like, that picture that he's in, that title, that championship picture that he's in right there, he is such a different dynamic to that. in regards to everybody else.
He's a different
there.
dynamic, but like, I mean, I don't believe him more than I would believe Edge in this role at this point, and he's not good.
Well, I need to go back and watch loads of stuff, but like, honestly, it's just, for me, it created this like spanner in the works is the best way I can describe it. It was this total spanner in the works, because we've been so used to this kind of like, you know, the personalities that we'd had back then, like The Rock being this like big ego and everything like that, like Stone Cold, like kind of like the man's man, like, for want of a better term, you know what I mean? Like the kind of the average, not the average Joe, but the guy you always wanted to be in terms of like kind of sticking it to your boss and doing this, doing that. Obviously, it was a bit confused around about that time as well, but like...
Well, that's another problem, is just like, I mean, the Austin stuff is...
The Austin stuff around about that time
any sense.
It is a bit kind of like a kerfuffle, right?
Because right after Vengeance, they bring him back, and it's just like, oh, he's a babyface. Or not after Vengeance, after Survivor Series. Like, the next day, he's just a babyface, even though he's been, like, king dick of the world. So I think there's just a lot of character alignment stuff that doesn't work, and that's why, like, putting Jericho as the spanner in the works just doesn't work for me, because I'm like, I need some sort of stability to cling to. And then now you have, you're like hyping it up as like this big, like undisputed championship. It's the first time it's ever been done. It's not the first time it's ever been done, but it's the first time it's ever been done, is what they keep saying on commentary.
It's the most
notable time. Until the John Cena, Randy Orton ladder ascension of the Universal title of the world ceremony that got our one Bryan Danielson cheered. I'm wearing my Bryan Danielson shirt today, actually. I like because I'm excited to talk about his match with one Mr. Hangman Page in a little bit, because I thought it was real good. But yeah, like it's just wild to me that like this whole like, this is historic, this is so important, and the story is he doesn't deserve it, which is okay. But like, when you need to build someone, it just feels like he needs to be built first before that he doesn't deserve it.
But no, I disagree with that, because if anything, why would that make sense? Like, why would you build somebody to be because then they would deserve it. If you think about it, if you build them to something where you think, okay, they're an absolute contender in this, and then if it was like shenanigans or something, that's the only kind of way you go, it's not really, they don't deserve it. Absolutely not. Him coming in there as this like spanner in the works, as this like, you know, he was just like an absolute wee dick, wee slimy arsehole, where he was just like, oh my god, so much ego, so much this, but like a different kind of ego that we'd not seen before.
Like, I will say that I think his promo game has stepped up since he became champion, but it's like, I feel like he needed to step up the promos and stuff first before I was able to believe in all of this.
But then again, but then you can argue the fact like that then when he is the undisputed champion, he's got that kind of like caliber behind him where he can like then push promos to a wee bit like X, Y, and Z. Because obviously like he probably still like in the run up to it, you know, he nobody's behind him for this, me. But like nobody's behind him for it. Nobody actually believed it was going to happen. So then when it does, it gives him this like legitimacy, like where he can like be like, well, actually, my ego was right all along, you know, and then become like he evolves as far as I'm concerned when he's like the universal champion. Calm down, Jen. When he's I'm like, what year is it?
I know. No, it's so hard living in like multiple timelines and stuff. Like it's ridiculous. I know Gary Monroe said in the chat, does the title make the man or does the man make the title? And I think it has to be like a combination of both. And for me, I just don't think that Jericho is there. Like, I don't think the title has made him. And I guess we'll see what happens with Jericho between now and when he leaves. But as of this point, he's been champion for like a couple weeks, and I'm not into it. Like, I'm just really not into it at all. The television has been really fun, and he's the least fun part of it.
Oh, right. Come on now. You just control yourself. Like,
I don't
like him. Well, we'll subtly agree to disagree on this, right?
We'll agree to disagree on this. I mean, we just have very different views on it, which is fine. Like,
exactly, but that's none of my business.
The sipping meme. But yeah, I mean, Stephen White says it made more sense to put the title on Angle after Angle was the mole in the Alliance camp. I agree. Like, Jericho to me just felt like a swerve for swerve's sake. Like, I asked Kenny, I'm like, did they hire Vince Russo back? Is that what's going on here? Like,
Stop it. You cannot put that down to Russo.
It seems like a Russo decision. It 100% seems like a Russo decision. Tell me I'm wrong. Chat. Just Chris Jericho winning the Undisputed Championship. Does that feel like a Vince Russo decision or a sound mind and body decision that made sense and was good for storytelling? I'm curious to know if I'm the one on crazy pills or if Jen is just blinded by her love of Christopher Jericho.
You know what? No, like here, I'll be the first to admit it. Like I enjoyed some of the Russo bookings and bookings. Like
Survivor Series 98 was very good.
I feel as if like Russo really did just play a lot of stuff out for me because I really do seem to be very alone in my love for Russo bookings. Like